This is one of the most abundant and fun for all ages fish Florida has to offer. From topwater blowups to shrimp under a cork, there's so many exciting ways to catch them. Our captains are going to give you the lowdown on this spotted species.
If you haven't guessed it yet, we are talking trout here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
You're watching the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and this week might look a little different because we have Captain Tommy Derringer from the Front Runner Boats Northeast region playing co-host with me while Rick is out. Welcome back. And it's kind of perfect, Tommy, because I know you know all about the trout skis.
I know about the trout skis. I love the trout skis. They're fun. Like I said in the opening, they're fun for all ages. They're very abundant. They're all over the state. Everybody can catch them. And the guys that are pro fishermen to the kids that have never caught a fish, they can enjoy it all the way through with the trout. So
absolutely. All right. Well, let's say hi to Dave at the CCA workbench with plenty to talk about over there, I'm sure. Hello, Dave.
I have a bench full of trout stuff. It's just loaded. So I imagine we're not going to get to half of it, but we're going to give it a shot.
I believe in both of you. I think you will. All right, let's start with our captain / co-host, Tommy Derringer, live in the studio from the Front Runner Boats Northeast region. Let's talk trout, Tommy.
Let's talk trout. You know, I'm stoked that we're talking about trout this week. This is one of my favorite times of year to target them here in the Front Runner Boats Northeast region. My clients and I seem to catch some of our biggest trout this time of year. And there's a bunch of different ways to catch trout. You can toss lures, flies, you can use live shrimp under a cork. You know, just one of the great things about trout is that fish, like I was talking about, it's a fish that all ages and skill levels can enjoy. I've got some great trout reports coming in this week from throughout the region. We have a good tide this weekend with that high outgoing tide first thing in the morning. In St. Augustine, we've been catching a bunch of trout, tossing the Berkeley Jaywalker 120 topwater. Use that at first light on that higher tide stage around the grass edges. And then I've had my clients switch it up to either a saltwater assassin paddle tail or a live shrimp or minnow under a cork as that sun gets higher and the tide starts to drop out a little bit. Now my buddy and the trout whisperer, Eddie Cabler, he told me he's catching some nice trout in Jacksonville in the St. Johns River near the Dames Point Bridge early in the morning on that outgoing tide as well. He's going to be targeting rocks, docks, riprap, any kind of eddy, essentially using those same techniques that I just spoke about. And there's also been some huge schools of yellowmouth trout, which don't get a whole lot of glory this time of year, but there's a lot of those guys on the nearshore reefs and wrecks. Any kind of paddle tail or small live bait will get those yellowmouth trout's attention. And I've got a trout picture here. He's the trout master right there, trout master himself, Ooh. Eddie Cabler with a gator trout that he caught in the St. Johns River. Look at the belly.
Look at the belly, I was just gonna say.
That is a chunky trout.
Yeah, it is, nice.
All right, now moving to the redfish. Standing short, man, what an awesome redfish bite we've had the last few weeks. The reds are fired up early. They've been eating those topwaters like they're going out of style. Now, aside from the great topwater bite, the redfish have also been eating live and cut mullet on the lower tide stage. Now, it's really hard to beat a cut piece of mullet this time of year. Now, you can fish that cut mullet around your favorite oyster bar, along the edges of the ICW, and also deeper, like around the bridges and the inlets for those big bull reds. And speaking of bull reds, there have been some big oversized fish at the bridges and at the St. Augustine Inlet this week. The best bite for those guys has been around the slacker tides, and the best bait has either been that cut mullet or cut blue crab or even cut ladyfish if you can find them. And I got another picture here. This is Guy, Marco, and Mark with Marco's biggest fish that he's ever caught. They caught that with me last week using a cut piece of mullet, and I'm telling you, man, there was high fives going all around. So, yeah, good job, Marco. Now moving offshore, talking about marlin. I spoke to Captain Jason Hadges from J-Hook Fishing Charters, and he told me that there's been quite a few blue marlin caught over the last few weeks. Now, Captain Jason said there's a lot of bait like skipjacks, flying fish, and some smaller mahis just inside the warmer Gulf Stream water. Of course, those big blue marlins love that kind of stuff. Jason said that the tide, or where that tide line is, where the marlins have been feeding, has been about 350 to 600 feet of water. And he said pulling some big teasers and then pitching a ballyhoo or a Spanish mackerel is the way to go depending on the size of the marlin. Now also offshore, talk kingfish. It's that time of year. Time to bust out the stinger rigs for some kingfish. I spoke to Captain AJ Gruber from Florida Republic Charters. He tells me he's been on a great kingfish bite this week. Captain AJ said the pogies have been thick in about 20 to 25 feet of water along the beach, and the kings have started to show up in those areas right next to where the pogies are. He said he's been trolling those pogies up top and on the downrigger, about 30 to 50 feet zigzag in that area along the beach. AJ also said the kings have showed up in good numbers on the nearshore reefs and wrecks. Again, just troll about as slow as you possibly can with a pogie or maybe a ribbon fish, and just hold on because those kingfish are going to scream some drag. And I got one last picture here. Captain AJ sent me this picture of his client Caroline with a nice beach king that they caught this past week, and they're fun at any size. They're going to rip some drag off.
Very nice. Good report, Tommy. You did
Thank
it
you.
live.
I did it live.
Great
Hey.
job. All right, let's take a look at your strike zone hotspots for the Northeast region.
Yeah, here
Go
are
right
the
ahead.
hot spots. Inshore, redfish and trout on topwater plugs at first light and last light along the grass edges. And then once the sun comes up and the tide goes out, switch to some cut mullet. And then offshore, kingfish along the beach in 30 to 55 feet of water. Mangrove snapper is also starting to show up pretty good in the 120-foot and deeper, those mangoes.
Mangoes. All right, now let's talk with none other than the trout fisherman himself from
He's the man.
Sarasota, Captain Jeff Page in the Startron Central West region. Let's talk trout. Jeff.
Let's do it, and it's good to hear you, Tommy. Who knows what country Rick Murphy's in, but I hope he's having fun. And you know what? This spring, early summer season has been really epic in our region, the Startron Central West region, for trout fishing. And I believe, you guys, it's due to we had a really early push of bait that came in all our inlets and our bays, and that being thread fins as well as pilchards. And I even saw today, as a matter of fact, I saw a bunch of menhaden up on the flats because it laid down really glass, and the menhadens were popping everywhere. And people don't realize it, but those big trout love those menhadens. I believe up your way they might call them pogies, or there's a different name for that menhaden. They
Pogie,
call them
that's it.
pogies, they call them shad, but it's the same yellow, oily fish. And you know what? A lot of the trout follow those bait schools in from the Gulf. And right now they're catching lots of really nice trout up on top of the grass flats. Like you said, Tommy, early, you can throw that Jaywalker 90 or the 120. I like it in the chrome or the bone pattern. And you want to pitch it and throw it around the schools of bait on the outside edges of them, or sometimes right in the middle of them. And a lot of times when it's calm in the morning, that bait will be dimpling on top, and it's real easy to see. Windier days, it's a little tougher, and that's when you can switch to the popping cork and put I like just putting a soft plastic under it, but you can put a live bait under it. And I like to adjust the length from my cork down to my bait according to the depth of water I'm fishing. If I'm fishing real shallow, like 2.5 feet, I'll put that bait maybe only a foot under the cork. If I'm fishing deeper, I'll put it up to 3-4 feet under the cork, and you can fish that out in 6 feet of water. Now, I've gotten reports of good fish up off Rattlesnake Key to the north and down south, even in Little Sarasota Bay, north of Blackburn Point Bridge, and also in Lemon Bay on the west side of Lemon Bay, just north of Stump Pass. If it's live bait you like throwing, you can put a shrimp under that cork, or you can throw free line pilchards. Soft plastics, I like using the gulp shrimp in the molting pattern, or a Mirror Little John in the avocado green with gold glitter. As the day warms out, look for those fish to push out to the deeper grass. I've got a photo tonight of my wife, Diane Page, with a real nice trout she caught with me not too long ago.
Nice. She's always catching them trout, though. You go, girl.
He catches them all.
Yes,
anyway, the tarpon fishing, I don't know how it's up your way, Tommy, but we've had a really good early tarpon season, and it's in full swing now. But what's been the blessing is that hard west winds that we had for that whole first half of May have laid down, and the mornings have been calm. You're able to get out on that beach, find those fish laid up, rolling slow, and you can pretty much throw a free line crab, threadfin, or pinfish right in on the edge of that counterclockwise rotation school, and you're going to get a bite. Now, as the day warms up and those fish start moving down the beach, it's a little more work, but if you put your time in and get ahead of the fish and present that bait under a cork, and now a lot of the guys like to cork their bait 6 to 9 feet below the cork. So it's not an easy cast to make. It's almost like a lasso cast. It's almost like you're throwing a lasso. But if you get that thing out there ahead of that school, it's going down. Threadfin number 1, pinfish 2, crab 3. Hard outgoing tides in the afternoon, crab under the cork. And then up on top of the sandbar, guys are doing real good fly fishing on all the bars near the inlet. My photo tonight is a longtime friend and tarpon fisherman, Rusty Driver, with a really nice tarpon he got last week, and it won week 1 of the longest running tarpon tournament in the west coast of Florida, the Sarasota City Tarpon Tournament. So he's week 1 winner. Moving offshore, mangrove snapper. With that first full moon being by, a lot of guys had a really good nighttime bite. The weather was good, and they limited out no problem. The snappers have been in a little bit deeper water, 150 feet on out. For the bigger snappers, Captain Andrew Purcell and Captain Billy Nobles have been both scoring well on big mangs, using live pinfish and pilchards as bait. Look for them to even get better as we get the full moon in June. My mango picture tonight is of Captain Billy with a happy client with a big fat mang. And my last species tonight, amberjack. The amberjack bite remains strong, and if you want a fish that pulls, that there's not one any stronger. And the guys have been able to chum them up to the surface to where you can throw plugs at them, cast free line baits at them, 70 to 90 feet of water over ledges and hard bottom areas. Pretty much all the areas that you catch AJs, they're holding on just like the permits are too. And topwater plugs work real well. My last photo tonight is with a happy crew with a nice amberjack they caught with Captain Jason Stock of the Full Send out of Anna Maria.
House of Pain right there.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Awesome report, man. Here are the Daiquiri Deck hotspots for the Central West region. Inshore tarpon, big pods laid up along the beach from Point of Rocks north to Bean Point. Throw free line crabs early and corked threadfins or pinfish as the day progresses when the fish start tracking down the beach. And then offshore, mangrove snapper, lots of snapper holding on the ledges and hard bottom in areas in 90 to 130 foot off New Pass south to Venice. Live pilchards or smaller to medium-sized pinfish are your best bet.
You're such a good reader. I love it.
I just learned.
Did you go to school?
I just learned how to read.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't seem like it. We're seeing what kind of trout talk is happening over at the Fish Bites Trading Post for rigs and techniques with the one and only Dave. Dave, what's going on over there? A lot's going on over there.
A lot is going on over here, but you'd be surprised how big a bait a big trout can eat. You know, that's one thing we're going to talk about.
Ooh, I might eat that.
Looks good.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Sirius XM Marine. Weather. Fish mapping. Entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Berkeley Prospect Chrome. Fish Bites Trading Post. The first choice of First Coast anglers. And Daiquiri Deck, food, drinks, friends.
All right, Dave, we're here at the CCA workbench for the Fish Bites Trading Post, rigs and techniques.
Yes, sir.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Well, you know, a sea trout is a croaker, and he lives on the flats and in the deep trenches and in the canals a lot of times around places where live.
Very true.
So it's one of the very first saltwater fish that a lot of guys catch, and it's like you were saying earlier, everybody can catch them. They're a lot of fun to catch. They eat a lot of different things, so they're easy to target. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the ways that we can do that. And first off, we're going to talk about some of the baits that we can use there. We got some of these Savage lures over here. We got that's the prop walker. And what the prop walker is, it's got that little prop at the back, and you can close those wings tight and then make it just a popper.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really cool thing, and it's a topwater bait, and
It's my favorite way to catch a trout is on top water.
Yeah.
'Cause they're so aggressive when they come to the top. They have huge mouths, so they make a huge splash.
Right, and that's real easy for anybody to use. You
It
just
is.
throw it out and reel it back, or you just pop it and let it sit.
Right.
And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't know is you got to let that thing sit sometimes.
Sometimes they eat it when it's sitting still.
Right, if you're moving it too much a lot, you might not get as many bites.
Right.
And then that other popper there, the Panic Popper from
This thing looks
Savage
great.
Gear, big mouth on the front of it. It spits really good. Nice saltwater hooks on there.
He looks surprised.
He does. Ah!
He will be when a trout
He'd
eats
be scared
him.
when the trout
Yeah.
comes to eat him. And what I was saying before, you'd be surprised how big a bait a trout can eat. We used to fish for them with mullet. We'd put a big mullet on and catch a 2-pound trout on a mullet that weighed a half a pound.
They'll eat a bait that's almost the same size as
Yeah,
them.
I don't know how they do it, but they manage it somehow.
What about this guy?
Well, that's called the Twitch Reaper, and that's a good bait to use if you're fishing around schools of mullet, just like those other two baits.
I
Actually,
love the shape of this bait. It looks
Yeah.
like a pogey or a mullet.
right. When you see trout harassing schools of bait, that's a good bait to throw in there and try to get them. It's a subsurface bait and
Kind of
just
walks the dog underneath, right?
the water. Correct. And we also have we use a lot of jigs when we're trying to catch trout because they like to eat shrimp and crustaceans as well as
Yes.
fish.
A live shrimp or a minnow or a little mullet on a jig head is
Right.
always been
and
a go-to.
And the trocar boxer jig in all different sizes, a half.
These are mean. These
a third.
hooks are mean, man. They
Very,
work
very
really good.
sharp and nice, silhouette. You put a little paddle tail on there and just have the fellas throw it out and reel it back over a grass flat.
Easy and very effective.
When it gets cold, the trout will school up in like a canal or something in deeper water because they don't like the cold that much, and they'll get into the deeper water. You throw that in, you can just catch one after the other of
Yes.
little trout with those things. So those are really good. I also like to throw a spoon for trout.
Probably something not a lot of people do, but it can be pretty effective.
It really works, and I like to put a little swivel on the front there, and maybe replace the split ring if I have to.
Right.
And because that just wobbles, and again, it's a search bait type of thing.
It's real easy. You just throw it out and
reel it back, and once you find them, you can slow down and use some other stuff if you'd like. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the rods and reels you would use. This is the nice Clash 2, Penn Clash 2 2500. It's made for inshore fishing. It comes in sizes 1,000 up to 5,000. It's got a full metal body and side plate, keeps the water out and everything.
Smooth, man.
Very, very smooth. And put it on this Fenwick HMG. The Fenwick HMG was the very first high modulus graphite rod ever made. In I think 1971 or something they came out with the first one. But they've done a lot of different stuff to it. They got the really nice grip
This is
on
cool,
there,
yeah.
where
You
you
can
can
feel the
actually
blank.
actually has the blank in your hand, so you'll feel every little bit that comes into it. And really nice rod. And if you put some of that Berkeley X9 braid on there, I think that's 15-pound test braid, super thin. It says 15
long way.
pounds on it. It breaks at 31 pounds.
Wow.
So there's no trout swimming that's going to break that line.
No, that's right.
Unless something
Well,
horrible
if there is,
happens.
I hope I catch them.
Yeah, unless something horrible happens. So, and in the last resort, Paige was saying, popping cork and maybe a fish bite shrimp underneath there.
That's
any kind of shrimp imitation.
Yeah, that's if you have a kid on the boat that's never fished before or something, that's the go-to. But for anybody really, it's a really good. This time of year when it gets hot, high tide where I am, popping cork with a fish bites or a live shrimp works. You can catch them all day.
There you
Thanks,
go,
Dave.
man. There you
Catch
go.
some trout, Bree. Come on.
Gotta catch them all. Good job, guys. All right, well, we are well underway with the Shoreline Showdown Surf Fishing Tournament Series presented by Fish Bites. 4 tournaments, 1 championship, and over $75,000 in guaranteed payouts. You can fish for a chance to qualify for the title of the Ultimate Surf Angler. We are now 3 tournaments down, 1 more to go. So for more information, visit shorelineShowdown.com. Speaking of fish bites, the Fish Bites East region has been no stranger to heat lately, which means trout feeding time is from dawn until about 8:30. Talk to us, Holiday.
Yeah, the coolest part of the day is when the sun comes up. And the key to catching sea trout in my region is to find those areas with healthy seagrass, which for the most part is going to be somewhere in the Indian River between Middle Cove in St. Lucie County all the way up to the Wabasso Causeway. You'll also find fish around the lighted docks of the Loxahatchee River at night, and on the intercoastal waterway around the docks of Little Lake Worth and the Pope Sound. Those docks will get them as well. And another good area is around the Spoil Islands that are in the middle of the river on either side of the channel as you work your way north of Fort Pierce. Now, water temperature plays a really big factor this time of the year. The majority of the action is going to come in that coolest part of the day. That's dawn. It'll get again at dusk. Right now, the trout are focused on bait fish like sand perch, pinfish, and pilchards. And for lures, I like to throw the bigger saltwater sass and shads and the Texas shads in those darker colors like Drunk Monkey or Houdini. For lures, I also like topwater plugs or like a 4-inch sea shad. That'll work better on your school fish. Average trout in my region is going to be 1 to 3 pounds, but we get fish to 10 pounds or more. And Captain Mark Dravo of Fort Pierce sent me the shot of Libby Browning with a 30-plus inch trout. She caught that fish on a live sand perch under a popping cork.
That's awesome.
And now, the other thing we got going, we're just getting into the height of the tarpon run in my region, and there's good numbers of fish showing up in all the inlets in the region, as well as in the St. Lucie River, around the Harbor Ridge area, and up around the locks, and in Indian River around Big Mud Creek. There's fish showing on the beaches as well. Even the bridges have some fish on them at dawn and after dark. The fish are really focused on mullet right now, the fish on the inside at least, but we're also seeing them eating crabs on the outgoing tide, particularly around the bridges, and then live thread fins around the inlets. You want to put them out on a 60-pound fluorocarbon leader with a 7/0 circle hook. And the average tarpon's anywhere from 30 to 100 pounds. You really don't know what you want or what you're going to get. So gear up for those bigger fish. I got a photo that Captain Cody Rubner sent me. He led his angler to this nice tarpon release in the crossroad areas of the Indian River, right inside the inlet. That fish ate a live mullet.
You can see the sweat on his back. That's tarpon fishing for you.
That's right.
All right, talk about dolphin for me, Mike.
Yeah, the dolphin bite's been really sporadic, particularly on the days with a west wind, which really spreads out those weed lines. But on the northeasterly and easterly winds, like we should see all this weekend, the weeds stack up, as do the rips and edges, making it easy to figure out where to start your day. The bite's been anywhere from 80 feet of water on out to 1,000 feet of water or more. So the key is to cover a lot of water. Don't stay in one spot for more than 15 or 20 minutes. Start your day trolling ballyhoo or skirt and strip combinations, or you can slow troll live baits. There's a lot of thread fins and pilchards around right now. Be sure to put a bait deep in the heat of the day for that big fish that's just running down deep over the reef, and keep a pitch rod ready at all times. Average dolphin in our region is going to be 8 to 15 pounds. I got a photo of a nice dolphin that came off a weed line in 300 feet of water, and that fish ate a live sardine. The other bite we got going is the kingfish bite, which is spread out around the region. The most consistent actions coming off Palm Beach County in 90 to 130 feet of water. There's also good numbers of mostly school kings on the 6 Mile Reef off Stewart and the Sand Pile, and then also the offshore bar out of Fort Pierce and up in Navarro Cove. The key is to find those bait schools, particularly in the afternoons. So, those big schools of bait that are on the beach that your Sabikian bait's out of in the morning, those are all going to hold kings later in the day when the crowds have left them. Target the fish with sardines, thread fins, or blue runners, either on a number 4 wire stinger rig or a triple hook monofilament rig. On the west wind days, a kingfish hole off Hope Sound has had some beautiful fish on it. Average king in my region, 12 to 20 pounds, but there's fish to 40 pounds or more. I got a photo that Captain Jonathan Earhart of Chaos Charters in Stewart sent me. This shot of a nice king his clients caught on the sand pile, and they caught that fish on a live thread fin.
Nice, Mike. Tell me about the bass.
Well, water levels are down in Headwaters Lake and Fellsmere. That's really concentrating the bass, particularly in the canals, and then anywhere in the open areas where you see open water around that topped out hydrilla. I was talking to Captain Nathan Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He said the daybreak topwater bite is out of control right now. He had a 73 fish morning on Tuesday, with 50 of those fish were on top water. Sean's been throwing small poppers and prop baits, working them super slow with long pauses. He also said a watermelon red flake or a watermelon blue flake worm. Either one of those are working really well, like right now, like a Bass Assassin RSB worm or a Fat Job worm. You can rig them either weightless and run them across the top of the hydrilla, or rig them wacky style with very little weight, just throwing them into those potholes. Be really careful navigating around. A lot of boats are hitting bottom with their low water levels, but headwaters, like the bite is on fire in this summer heat, it's the place to be.
Wow, summer heat for sure, and that's a lot of bass, Mike.
It's time to go bass fishing,
Yeah,
Mike.
73 is a big day, man.
Stay cool, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
You guys.
Here are the TH Marine hotspots for the East region. Inshore, tarpon in Big Mud Creek. The Dawn bite is best using live mullet or Houdini colored 4-inch sea shads. And then offshore, kingfish in 100 to 130 feet of water off the Juneau Pier. Use live sardines, thread fins, or blue runners on a wire stinger rig.
All right, well, Tommy, we're in it to win it, and Trout, no doubt, could get you a Carolina skiff with Yamaha motor and trailer package in the CCA Florida Star competition presented by Yamaha. The competition started this Saturday, and any fish you catch could win you a share of $500,000 in prizes or a new boat, but you have to be a CCA member and registered for the competition before you hook and land your catch. Make sure that if you are fishing inshore or offshore, you are registered at ccaflstar.com. We can't say it enough. Get registered, become a member, win stuff.
Trout, no doubt.
Trout, no doubt. All right, we're finding out all of the ways we can get a trout hookup in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region, and also seeing what inshore and offshore gems Captain Pat Deneen has for us this week in the Sea Sucker Panhandle region. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio, Blue Light Blocking Radically Clear Polarized Fishing Sunglasses, Scoozy Shoes, the captain's choice for premium lightweight comfort, Sea Sucker, easy on, easy off, incredibly strong, Penn, let the battle begin, Kubota, together we do more, and the International Order of T. Roosevelt, protect your right to fish.
Welcome back, everyone. So Rick was at the boat show recently, and as you know, Tommy, when it comes to motors, Yamaha is second to none. So let's check out what they're up to now.
Hey guys, I'm here with Lucy Birdbury, Yamaha's product specialist. And Lucy, this is the new F350 V6, the lightest in its category. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this?
That's right, it's a V6. It was based off of the 4.2 liter, so right out of the gate, we're nice and light. We have that reliable track record, and then we engineered a ton of stuff from this block to make it its own class of engine.
So speaking of a class of engine, I love the fact that it's got a lot of cool standard features. Some of the stuff we brought over from the XTO line. Why don't you tell me about it?
Right, so standard thrust enhancing reverse exhaust, that's at or below 2,500 RPM, gives us a clean grab of the prop. The exhaust bubbles are coming out above the anti-ventilation plate. Got total tilt, standard. Got plasma fused cylinders, standard.
Beautiful. The other thing that comes to mind is what different colors does it have?
So we have 3 colors to choose from this time around. We've got our traditional gray, our pearlescent white, which is right here next to us, and now the classic white, which is a warmer white.
Now, I know a lot of guys are going to wonder about the amperage and the volts that come out of the alternator. Can we stack them so that we can keep all of our electronics charged?
Absolutely. So we have, it's a 70 amp charging system. And in this case, what we've done is brought XTO technology down to this actual platform. We've got a stator fan on it, just like the XTO. Pulling the heat off of the cowling through that stator fan is going to make the alternator perform better overall.
I love that. So the other thing I got one question
Yes.
about, guys are always asking me about prop selections. Why don't you tell us what's available?
We have new prop pitches this year for the Saltwater Series 2 to include the 24 and 25 inch right and left hand. Those are made as a match for this F350.
All right, I love that it has the fully integrated steering system as well. Lucy, if anybody has any questions about Yamahas, where do they go?
Of course, go to YamahaOutboards.com.
Thank you very much, Rick. All right, the Discover Crystal River Northwest region is a mighty fine place to be if you're a trout and an angler who wants to catch one. So let's pick Captain Jeff Hageman's brain. Hi, Hag.
How you doing? That's absolutely true. Trout can be found through my entire region. My entire region is pretty much a grass flat on the coastline. So we've got miles and miles of turtle grass and eelgrass, which trout love, and as well as the transitions in the grass and sand holes and shell bottoms that trout like to hang out in. They're ambush predators, so they're going to hang out in those areas where the two types of grasses meet, or sand and grass meet, and they'll stage it up and use that for structure as the bait fish and shrimp and other stuff drift over the flats where they can get to them at. Trout can be caught on live bait and artificial. Some of the favorite live baits out there include shrimp, small pinfish, grass grunts, sardines, either free-lined or under a cork. Those are some of the most common. And as far as artificial goes, probably the top two out there are a walk-the-dog style bait, put on top, or a soft plastic like a jig, quarter-ounce, eighth-ounce jig, and some soft plastic behind it. It's hard to beat. Trout also like noise, attracting noise like popping corks, Cajun thunders really work well. The Zara spooks with a rattle in them really shake them up and get things moving, help them find the baits and get to them. Most of our trout range from anywhere from 14 to 20 inches, and we get some bigger ones up to 28 in the area too. They also make great table fare, and they're probably one of the most fished species in my region.
All right, tell me about the redfish, Hag.
Moving to the redfish, Captain Mario Costello, Tall Towers Charters out of Ozilla Keys Marina, reports a good redfish bite right now along the rocky shoreline and oyster bars from the mouth of St. Martin's River out to the north to the spoil banks. Redfish are in the smaller schools, like 5 to 10. They can be found under schools of mullet right now. He's been free-lining live shrimp and drifting them past the points and small clumps of oysters and rocky bottoms surrounding those areas. Redfish right now have been anywhere from 20 to 30 inches. And I've got a great picture here of Captain Mario Costello's beautiful wife, Lindsay Costello, with a nice top shot. Redfish caught a few days ago.
Nice.
Pretty.
All right, let's head offshore, Hag.
Moving offshore, Captain Rob Davenport, Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete, reports a good mangrove snapper bite right now. Uses in 4-aught circle hooks and 4-ounce lead on a knocker rig, 40 to 60 pound fluorocarbon leader, and a small live pinfish for bait. And I got a photo here of a beautiful mangrove snapper. Love eating those guys.
Wow.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'd take that one.
One of my favorites that has eluded me offshore, Captain Rob is also reporting on. Captain Rob out of St. Pete again reports a good speckled hind bite right now, a.k.a. the Kitty Mitchell. He's been catching these beautiful grouper species on hard bottom at 350 to 400 feet of water, using a 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, 16 ounces of lead, and a 10-aught circle hook. Dead and live bait work well right now, and also butterfly jigs have been working really good. And look at this beautiful grouper. I still let it elude me. I haven't caught one of those yet.
Wow, cool looking fish there.
That's awesome. Still on your bucket list, Hag?
That's on my bucket list.
Oh, man. You'll get there. Me too.
Me too, yeah, I want those too. Actually, I just want to, one day I want to be as relaxed and as chill as Jeff, man. That's
We always say we want to be Jeff when
that's
we
it.
grow up.
Well, here's the hot spots for the Ozilla Keys Marina Northwest region. Inshore, the redfish bite is on top of the tide. Cut baits have been the most effective when fished around the oyster bars. And then offshore, red grouper bite has been good in 90 to 180 feet of water over limestone and ledges. Use squid and cut sardines for bait.
Another person I wouldn't mind being when I grow up. The trout are making themselves known in the Seasucker Panhandle region with none other than Captain Pat Deneen. Pat, let's hear it.
Pat's the man.
Yep.
Hey, Bree, I tell you, the speckled trout fishing is going well up here in the Panhandle. The bay water temperatures haven't gotten too hot. Bait is showing up throughout the bay, and the trout are definitely on the flats. And then additionally, we on the backside of the full moon, but that recent high water from the full moon was good for pushing the fish well up into the shallows. St. Joe Bay is well known for their trout fishing. It's got extensive grass and hard sand bottom flats. Over in Panama City, West Bay is also a great place for trout, especially that hard bar between the Duck Pond and Breakfast Point. When you're on these flats, you want to cover some ground, and when you get a bite, power pole down and fish that area thoroughly. They're typically not alone, especially if there's a schoolie fish. And then also chumming with live pilchards and menhaden on the deeper flats and roll downs can be especially productive. At night, trout fishing under the dock lights using live baits, small streamer flies can be really awesome. It's a great way to get you off the water in the daytime when it's crowded, and also you beat the heat. And there's a photo I got from Captain Chuck Kemper with a happy client with one of many speckled trout they caught on a recent charter this past week. So that trout fishing has been good, and it looks like it's going to continue to be that way. Staying inshore, big schools of Jack Crevalle along the beaches been particularly good in the eastern part of our region, especially with these east winds that we've been having. It can be choppy west of Fort Walton Beach with an east wind, but it's perfect from Panama City to Cape San Blas with a kind of more of an offshore wind. The jacks are usually in the gully or just along and off the second bar, so you want to cruise the beach looking, and once you find them, game on, skip a topwater bait on spinning rods, or throw crease flies and poppers on fly rods. The jacks are mostly anywhere from 13 to maybe 20 pounds. There's a photo of Kevin Gallagher from Niceville with the topwater Jack Crevalle. He pulled out of a huge school of jacks earlier this week. And when I say huge, I mean countless hundreds. I don't know how many. Moving offshore, the swordfish has been good to say the least, both daytime and nighttime. Fishing around the spur, the dumping grounds, the steps, and the ditch east of the Petronas rig. Basically in 1,300 to 1,800 feet of water, you squid, strip baits, and butterfly baits. Most of the swordfish are running 60 to 100 pounds, but Captain Chris Kirby on the background out of Destin, he caught one this past week during daytime that was probably pushing her right at 300 pounds. There's a photo I got from Captain Adam Peebles with one-shot charters. He's been crushing them this month, and I don't know if he's gone and not caught one yet on a trip, but this is a photo of one of several that he caught that day. And then finally, folks, moving offshore, the king mackerels are still producing really well by slow trolling live cigar minnows and herrings, or free line and dead baits while bottom fishing over bottom structure. You definitely want to be around some structure, particularly structure holding some bait. Use a stinger rig to bridle up your live baits. You want to troll a couple baits up top, a couple down deep. Most of the kings are 20 pounds or so. You may get a bonus wahoo. Probably going to catch a bonita or two doing it. And while we're here, man, CCA Star Tournament has started up. It's bigger this year. It's got more expanded prize winnings to be had. I mean, I know the guy took fish today. He knows a guy caught 2 tagged redfish in one day.
Wow.
He wasn't in the tournament. And I know a guy here locally who's caught 1 or 2 not in the tournament. So you can't play or you can't win if you don't get in the game.
That's right. Hey, Pat, I got a quick question for you about kingfishing. You know, people always talk about going as slow as possible when you're trolling for kingfish. You got any tips to make the boat go a little slower?
You can bump troll it for one thing. Just in and out of gear for the most part. And I know some people, they'll maybe drop their power pole down to add extra drag. I don't know if that really does much, but more of a, for me, on my little boat, it's more of a bumping it in and out of gear.
Yeah, the power pole makes
the line straight.
Makes a thing that goes on the poles to actually slow you down. So it works pretty good.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, Pat, thanks so much, man. Great report as always. And here are the hot spots for the Panhandle region. Inshore, get on the water early and cast topwater baits, soft plastics, or float some live baits under a cork for speckled trout around Big Sabine in Santa Rosa Sound. And then offshore, red snapper season opens this weekend. So catch them on natural and artificial bottom using live cigar minnows and those herrings.
You know, every year we hear about people catching all these redfish and they're either not in the tournament or they're not members or they're not both. So
you got to sign up.
Just sign up. You might as well. If you plan on fishing this summer, just go for it. You don't want to miss out. He should have gone and bought a lottery ticket. You think he did? Two tag redfish in one day.
He may used up all his good luck on those 2 fish. Though.
I don't know. All right, well, stay patient while Dave is getting the CCA workbench ready for some Taco Marine new products. Looking shiny and new, Dave.
Yeah, Starbright's got that ceramic stuff out now.
Ooh, love that stuff.
Oh, shoot. Wax and seal. All right, and then we're seeing what adventures the Alto Equipment Southwest region holds for us with Captain Ronnie Houston. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Abyss Battery, power your pursuit. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
All right, Dave, we're here at the Taco Marine new products segment at the CCA Workbench. We got some cool stuff here. What do we got?
Yes, sir. First, we're going to start off, I like offshore stuff. I troll a lot. And this is from line-sided tackle. It's called the Hump Buster. And these are hand-whipped mylar trolling lures that are, purpose-built to mimic flying fish and other little tiny things that are out there, made to troll at 4 to 6 knots. I like them because, you can just put these out. You don't have to rig them up. They're already rigged.
They're good to go.
They're good to go. You just put them out. They're very thin and there's not a whole lot of stuff in between the hook and the fish.
Easy for the hook to get into the fish, right.
When it comes to eat it, this is a great bait if you want to troll it on your long riggers or even as a shotgun, tunas, wahoos, mahis, Probably not. I probably wouldn't want a wahoo to eat that thing, but if he did, you might get him. You might get him.
Yeah.
But more of a tuna and a wahoo type thing. They put a splash a little bit on the surface. That little lead head keeps them in the water at that 4 to 6 knot trolling speed. But you're going to be trolling if you're using dead baits anyway. And a lot of times when you're fishing for tunas, especially, we tend to use stuff that's too big. We'll go trolling through a school of tuna fish and go, how come we're not getting bites? How come we're not getting bites? Because they're eating little stuff.
Right.
And we come through there with a big horse ballyhoo or even a medium ballyhoo, which is going to be something that they're not keyed in on. But these are really nice with that mylar flash and everything.
We got some different.
Yeah, I think that one is what is that one? The goggle eye. And then they have a little one they call the ballistic blackfin.
I like that one. That's cool.
And then they've got the flying fish, and they've got a couple more colors there as well. And they'll sell them, to you 10 at a time in that nice little
this is nice, man.
Nice little kit there, or you can buy them separately.
All
so
right. Cool.
Go to lstackle.com to get one of those.
Very cool.
Next, we've got the Something Fishy multi-purpose deodorizer. It's an antimicrobial spray. It comes in those 60 milliliter bottles. Their slogan is "In a blink, no more stink." So, which is awesome. It's an all-natural formula. There's no alcohol in it. There's no parabens. It's no chlorine, and it works on food smells, garlic, fish,
Smells
seafood.
good.
Yeah, they come in 2 different smells there. They got a citrus and the tropical. Just a really good. You can spray it anywhere. It's good for your car. If you have a stroller or it's a natural hand sanitizer, a car seat. Like you can spray your shoes with it, your footwear. It just eliminates odor because it's microbial. Correct.
That's it.
And what that does is it kills the bacteria that makes the scent.
Okay.
And I'm not only covering it up, but eliminating it altogether. So go to somethingfishy.net to get some of those.
Nice.
Something's fishy. Next, we have these sea bass lures. These are called the Walking Mullet. Took the fella 2 years to come up with these things. They're really cool. They got that segmented body with a joint all the way at the tail.
Yeah, this is cool. I like this.
It makes it easier. Tail. Makes it easier to walk the dog with it. It comes in 2 different colors: the black gold and the black silver. It's obviously a top water plug.
Yeah.
Be great for the trout that we were talking about today.
You got the single hooks on here.
Single hooks, the little silicone rubber tail. When especially if you're fishing with trout who has a very weak mouth, those single hooks go a long way.
Yeah, that's a good idea, right?
Because when you catch a trout with a big, load of treble hooks in his mouth, he's probably going to get hurt. That's just the way it is. They're 5 inches long. They got those heavy duty hooks. You won't have to change them out. Go to seabasslures.com to get those.
Cool. I like that.
Next, last but not least, this is something that you like to use, and we all like to use Starbright products here on the show. We're all big fans, but this Starbright Ceramics is the new stuff that they've come out with recently. Rick was working with them to get all this ceramic stuff going, and they've really hit it with the gangbusters here. This is the Wax and Seal. Uses that cutting-edge ceramic technology to create a really tough, durable top layer that repels dirt and grime and salt and dust.
It's easy to take it on.
You wipe it on a 4x4 area and then come back and buff it off with a microbial cloth real quick and just work your way down the boat. And man, that wax provides an exceptional protection. You know, UV rays, oxidation, staining. It's like it's a ceramic coating.
I put it on you put it on the trailer, on any kind of smooth surface, and it works.
Well, this
really
is designed for, you know, the fiberglass gel coat, any painted surfaces, and it keeps your boat looking pristine. There's no water spots. I mean, it beads like crazy. It
does.
It repels water like nothing else. You just shake it up and do what I said, you know, put it on little sections at a time, get it on there, and then take it right off. No need to do 2 layers of it or anything like that, and it lasts a long, long time.
I brought one of my boats for you to do.
I'll do that if you take me fishing.
All right,
Starbright.com.
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
right. If there's anybody that knows how to keep a boat clean, it's Tommy Derringer.
Yeah, you can eat off that thing.
Yes, you could. All right, the Also Equipment Southwest region is looking like a fun place to be this weekend, especially if you've got catching trout on the brain. Hi, Ronnie.
Hey, Bree. Trout can be really caught in many different ways. Too many to really talk about in the segment. But for numbers, I strongly suggest fishing the flats in my region. And this is going to include potholes and troughs, especially combined with areas of grass. Now, on your higher tides, you obviously want to get on top of the flats. As the water goes out, you want to, the lower tides, you want to be fishing your troughs, your edges, and you want to be fishing depressions and potholes. Also looking for birds and areas of bait, especially drifting with the wind behind your back. I like drifting with the wind behind your back and fan casting until you start catching. And one of the most important things is, I'll put down the power poles and I'll cast 360 degrees around the boat. And that bite sooner or later is going to taper off. Just lift your power poles up, continue drifting with the wind in the same direction, and just repeat the process. These fish are just going to get spooked or get pressured. They're just going to move up a little further. Now, if I'm fishing a new area, I don't care if it's from Florida, all of Texas and Louisiana, best way I'm going to find to locate trout is going to be using a noise-making cork like the Bass Assassin Oval Quick Cork, and just simply with some type of soft plastic paddle tail or shrimp, 18 to 20 inches a leader and an 1/8-ounce jig head. You're looking for them, you can't figure them out, you're going to find them with that. Another one of my favorite ways to catch them once I do find them, especially if they're bigger, nothing beats a topwater walk the dog lure. Also you can fish on top of the flats without anything floating, soft plastics on jig heads, and you want to bounce the potholes, edges, and troughs. And for the guy who doesn't like to, use artificials, growing up as a kid, my dad used to take me out using live shrimp under a cork. Pop, pop, the smell of the shrimp, they're going to come to it. Or you can simply just chum the flats up with pilchards and, just use shrimp. And you can either use those in the current, free lines, or under a cork. And I got a picture of I've been catching plenty of trout up in the north end of the region. If you're looking for trout, the grass has come back, the water's clean. Just about anywhere from Sanibel to Punta Gorda, you use these methods, you're going to catch trout. Next species is going to be the redfish. Now, to the north, Panhandle Marina towards York Island, and you want to focus your efforts on the lower stages of the tide on the inside of the sandbar. You want to look for areas of mullet fishing, especially if they're in the troughs and the potholes. Once you find that scenario, I strongly suggest power poling down, using topwater walk the dog lures, or the Bass Assassin Little P&V, as well as paddle tails on jig heads in darker colors. Just pull down. I recommend using a lighter braid, 10-pound braid. You get them longer casts. The water's real clear up there right now, and a lot of them fish can be spooky. As the tide gets high, skipping the mangroves with soft plastics. Not going to catch the numbers, but if you want to catch the numbers, you want to be chumming the live pilchards on the higher water, or you can simply, we got the heat right now at 92, 95, 97 degrees. Simply use cut baits up into the bushes, whether it be herring, mullet, crabs, and ladyfish for the scent. And you can work that same process actually all the way to the north end of the region up in Charlotte Harbor, but it's been pretty good down in the Pine Island area. And another prime example of some fish caught on artificials, that's an oversized redfish, and that was caught up in the northern end of the region on a Bass Assassin Golden Brim Little P&V. So the offshore side, the red grouper, several captains have been telling me, the reports are steady. We've been having light west winds, and a lot of these fish right now are concentrated anywhere from 85 to 105 feet of water. And, the further you go out, you get bit, you're going to be putting keeper fish inside the box according to Hog Wild charters. Once you find them, limit's going to come fairly easy depending upon the current. Most important thing is you want to be staying on that bottom. So depending upon the current, have a variety of weights, 6 to 10 ounce. The fish getting that hard bottom, 60, 80-pound fluorocarbons. Being on the bottom, like I said, is going to be most important. Simple baits, cut baits like squid, herring, mullet, If you need it, it's tough, it stays on, or you can use live pinfish or live herring. Don't overfish some of these areas, especially if you're learning. You want to, keep some of those bigger grouper in the same areas. You can go back, pick one off here and there. Keep a few out, figure the new stuff out by just simply drifting or anchoring up on new areas as you find your way, or you find them on your bottom finder. And a nice red grouper recently caught while fishing with hog wild charters. The last species is going to be, and it's been a good bite, entertaining bite, the mangroves and the yellowtails. Concentrate your efforts right now from Gordon's Pass to Sanibel. Depths can vary, but the nighttime bite has been pretty steady right now because of the passing of the moon. 65 to 85 meter water. Wrecks and ledges has been the key. Also, chumming is going to be the key. Don't over chum, just to draw the fish up in a certain portion of the water column. Depending upon where they are, you can flat line. You can use jig heads anywhere from 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce. You can easily drop down and use chicken rigs with a multiple amount of hooks, and just about any cut bait's going to work. Box chum's going to work, but make sure those baits are small, matching the size of the chum, and you can either use squid, herring, shrimp, or pilchards. A lot of the fish right now, this guy's fishing day and night hog wild charters. He's catching them at night during the day, average anywhere from 14 to 22 inches. And another prime example, just some fish that have been caught in the last week while fishing with hog wild charters. Now, the weather's looking good for the weekend. It's opening weekend of red snappers. I'm supposed to be going Sunday. Might not be looking too good, but I'm supposed to be going out in a 40-footer. So hopefully if the wind dies down, I'm going to get out and catch me some red snappers. So looking forward to doing some red snappers as the season opens.
All right, Ronnie, thank you, man. Good luck with that. Here are the battery tender hotspots for the Southwest region. Inshore snook. With the passing of the moon, fish the intercoastal docks and seawalls at night from Fort Myers Beach, Cape Coral, and Punta Gorda. And offshore, permit and cobia, Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass. Fish the wrecks 8 to 30 miles out using live crab, swim baits, and large live baits.
All right, well, the Key West Marlin Tournament is coming up July 17th through the 20th for your shot at fishing for some serious cash in the sun-drenched Keys. This is more than a competition. It's a high-stakes adventure with hundreds of thousands of dollars up for grabs, where every catch could lead you to victory. Join the ranks of fishing aficionados in the grand tradition of Hemingway himself. Get registered at keywestmarlin.com. All right, coming right up, we're taking you right back to the Florida Keys with Captain Ridge Murphy, so get ready to cast your hearts out. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida. Scan that QR code to head to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and of course to see new adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. Takeuchi, from world first to world leader. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
We're back. You know what? If anyone can guide us to some trout action in the Takeuchi Keys region, it's Captain Ridge Murphy. So, Ridge, let's hear it.
Here in the Alta Equipment region, trout fishing is something we do quite a bit of. From nasty weather fishing in the wintertime or just a line-tight day with the kids, trout are found all over the backcountry of Key Largo and into the Middle Keys, all up in Florida Bay. Look for grass flats that have lots of potholes in it. Keep an eye out for big mud. Drifting through them with a 7-foot light to medium light spinning rod with a 2,500 to 4,000 size and reel, filled with 8 to 10 pound braided line. 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader will do the trick. Trout really key in on noises, bright colors, and scents. So if fish bites hammerfish shrimp on a 1/4 ounce jig head under a Bass Assassin popping cork, or topwater plugs like the Berkeley hard baits, Chapo 105, or Jaywalker will work also. And if it ain't chartreuse, it ain't no use. Long drifts, and when you get the bite, power pole down and fan cast. And if you stop catching them, pick the power poles up and start drifting again. But be mindful of that depth that you're catching them in, because it may vary from day to day, but it will be that constant for that current day. Red fishing is still going off down here, and in this calm weather that we've been having has been making the sight fishing pretty good. Schools of milling around fish, look for them rumbling around flakes that look just like mullet flakes, but a little bit bigger. Also, there's some fish falling around the ray mud, and pull along the flats with the current looking for the mud. Pull from mud to mud looking for tailing fish or waking fish in between. Throw bass assassin paddle tails or jerk baits with a 7-foot Fenwick rod, the 3,000 to 4,000 pen reel. And in a tailing situation, throw the bait strategically, pick one fish out, and keep an eye on your bait. In the schooling situation, throw the bait out in front of the schools and slide it past them. And once they spook off, it's okay to throw into the school and get a reaction bite.
All right, how about offshore, Ridge?
Offshore, the Gulf fishing has been either Jurassic Park or complete ghost town with no rhyme or reason. So if you're willing to make a run out in the Gulf wreck, the cobias, permits, snappers, Goliath groupers, and sharks have been really good. Make sure to have a live well full of bait, pinfish, mullets, grunts, and crabs, and have a few different rod and reel combos from a 7-foot light, medium light, Fenwick Pro Elite rod with a 10-pound braided line for the snappers and the permits, the heavy to extra heavy with 20 to 40-pound braided line for the cobias, Goliaths, and the sharks with a Penn Authority or Slammer in 8,000. Sink baits down to the bottom and wait for the bait to get real tight. Heavy tackle is recommended. While on the surface, you're scanning the horizon for permits, flashing and mooning on the surface. I have 2 photos, one of Tanner Wakefield with a nice cobia that he got with me over the weekend, and the other one is his brother Quentin with a really nice mangrove snapper that we got on that same trip.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, all right. Tell me about some mahis.
There's been some mahis around in 600 to 1,200 feet of water. Look for scattered weeds, floating debris, and birds, and cover ground looking for the birds working. Troll R&R mahi magnets in the area, and once you get one on, pull back the throttles and throw live bilchards or dead ballyhoo hooked in the nose with an eagle claw live bait J-hook. Take your time and try to hook as many as possible, and once everyone has one on, you can shake them off one by one into the box, freeing that rod up to get another bait out. Keep in mind that if the school that you're on has some smaller fish on it, you can move to another one and find some bigger ones. 20 inches to the fork is legal, and have an R&R de-hooker ready to help you shake them off into the box or shake those shorts off back into the water with minimal damage. I have another photo from Captain Sammy Milazzo off the Vice Versa out of Worldwide Sportsman with some nice mahis that he caught on his charter the other day.
Very nice.
Feeding the family.
Yeah, he got it going on there. All right, thanks, Ridge. Here are the hot spots for the Keys region. Inshore, redfish on the backs of the rays. Also look for muds and waking schools up on the flats. Throw the Bass Assassin paddle tail or a weedless fish bites shrimp. And then offshore, mahi on the debris, scattered weeds, or under the birds. Look from 600 to 1,200 feet of water and troll R&R mahi magnets, and throw live pilchards or chunk bait on an Eagle Claw 2/0 live bait hook.
At least we had one representing Murphy on the show tonight.
That's
That
right.
was good.
Yeah.
Good job, Ridge. All right, now it's time to check out some tournaments going on in the Florida Keys. First, we have the 31st Annual Lower Keys Chamber of Commerce Dolphin Tournament, June 7th through the 9th, where anglers contend for over $35,000 in cash prizes and awards. Next is the Marathon's 38th Annual Father's Day Dolphin Derby, set for June 14th and 15th, with cash and prizes awarded to angling teams catching the top 4 heaviest mahi-mahi. Then we have the University of Miami Sports Hall of Fame and Museum Celebrity Fishing Tournament, set for June 20th through the 22nd in Isla Mirada, with notable personalities in attendance. Cash prizes are on tap for the top 3 teams catching the highest combined weight of 3 mahi. And finally is the Key West Gator Club Dolphin Derby, June 21st through the 23rd, with cash prizes totaling $15,000. Go Gators! For more information on these Keys tournaments, head to flakeys.com. It's all about the dolphin, and I'm okay with that.
Okay.
All right, now let's say hi to our Real Legends Central East region captain, Jim Ross. Jim, a lot's going on up there, but tell us what makes trout tick.
Well, good evening. I tell you, you and Tommy and Dave are doing a great job tonight. And Speckled Trout in the Real Legends Central East region we're doing some really nice trout right now. I'm not going to lie. We've got these big gators that are starting to show up, and anglers are finding them anywhere where you find a good food source, like pilchards, fingerling mullet, small croakers, pigfish. You also need to find a couple of other things. You need to find good cover, so rocky edges. docks, mangrove trees, anything that has some cover within, it's like in a shallower area that's within, swimming distance of 4 to 5 feet of water. You find those transition zones, that's where you're finding these big breeder fish. Some of them are pushing 25 to 32 inches right now. And if you look from the Wabasso Bridge northward along the Long Point area, that eastern shoreline of the Indian River has actually been pretty hot. The spoil islands in that area have been pretty good too. In the Banana River, anglers are finding big trout in and around the Grand Canal and the Cocoa Beach Canal systems. And then up in the Mosquito Lagoon, big trout are easy to find. Find some grassy areas where there's mullet schooling and congregating, and that's where you're going to get them. So other than live baits, anglers can target these bigger trout with saltwater assassin Artemis shad. The green hornet color is a very good one right now. Also, one of my favorites for big trout is the Assassin's 5-inch straight tail shad. I want to rig that weedless. Those big trout love the native shiner color or gold pepper shiner color whenever you're fishing in those grassy areas around those mullet pods. Most of our bigger trout are running 24 to 28 inches at this time. And I've got a picture here that Captain Alex Huey sent me from alexhuey.com. This is Jake Bachman, and he actually caught this one on a Gulf shrimp in the Banana River the other day. So very, very nice sized fish coming in as far as the trout goes in my region. Now, the other fish that we want to look for, redfish. They're holding in exactly the same places that these bigger trout are, and many of the reds are actively cruising shorelines looking for a meal. So set yourself up on some good, clean water and slowly methodically work with the sun at your back. You should see multiple redfish cruising banks in the Banana and lower Indian rivers this week. Areas with glass minnows and other small fry baits are top places to search because the redfish seem to be keying in on these little bit smaller baits right now, and we're catching redfish in the 20 to 30 inch range. Got a picture here of one of those nice little ones that Blair the Ninja caught with me the other day. Now, swinging offshore, the dolphin bite has been solid. Activity has been picking up throughout the entire region. The fish are moving into the Space Coast waters daily from the south as you follow those temperature breaks, color changes, weed lines. Finding fish to 20 pounds is a pretty staple thing right now. All you got to do is just find those edges, find those features, drag medium-sized ballyhoo, or you can slow troll with live pogies. And then when you get up to a floating mat or some kind of a piece of debris like a tree or other floating object, a lot of times guys will actually pitch some live baits out, pilchards, pogies, that sort of thing, get those fish to come up, and you can get the whole school to come up at that time. Now, my other species offshore, my last species, is the king mackerel. And it's the time of year when all of the reefs in my region start to light up. The king mackerel have been solid. We're slow trolling live baits for these fish. That's how we're getting them to strike. The mackerel that are being caught right now on lures are hitting large spoons or seawitch strip combos that are run behind a planer. So it's a great way to cover ground if you don't go catch live bait and find some of these nice fish we've got right now. White, pink, and silver colored spoons, or red and black or blue and black colored sea witches. Blue and white colored sea witches are what you want to pull right now. Lip diving plugs in the 5 to 7 inch range will also work, especially in the morning and evening hours. And during the middle of the day, anglers can put these types of baits down on a downrigger and run them down at 40 to 50 feet over those 70 to 90 foot ridges and have some pretty good results. Our average king mackerel is running 15 to 20 pounds at this time. Got a picture here of Mason with a nice one that we got the other day.
Oh, Mason, nice.
Hey,
That's
Jim,
awesome.
I got a quick question for you. When you're fishing for those kingfish, do you guys ever chum with some pogies behind the boat, some live pogies or cut up pogies or anything like that?
So what we'll do, Tom, is a lot of times you'll pull up on the reef, and if you're marking the fish on your sounder but you're not getting the strike, we'll take a net full or two and throw them overboard, live baits, because the pogies want to swim down towards the reef. They get the king mackerel that are down there excited because they swim down, they see them, they turn around, they race right back to the top, and pretty soon it looks like an air show. You get king mackerel skyrocketing those baits if you do that.
Awesome. That's a good pro tip there, Jim. And here are the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots for the Central East region. Inshore, trout and redfish along the mangrove-covered shorelines of the Banana River from Grand Canal to the North 1000 Islands area. Use live pilchards or assassin 5-inch shad for fish to 8 pounds. That's a nice trout or redfish. And then king mackerel offshore on most of the 70 to 90 foot ledges south of Ponce Inlet. Troll a sea witch or strip combo spoons, lip diving lures for fish to 25 pounds.
That little boy was so cute. What was his name? Mason?
Yeah,
That fish
good
was
job,
like
Mason.
5 times
Yeah,
the
that was
size he
awesome.
was. All right, when you're on the road this summer, make sure you show your support for Florida's fisheries with a Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate. Funds from the sale of the redfish tag directly support protecting and enhancing marine resources, habitat restoration, water quality, and coastal environmental education. Remember, your $25 redfish tag helps ensure our marine resources will be here for future generations. Make sure you get yours now at your local DMV or redfishtag.com. I'm just going to say it might be a really neat Father's Day gift. That's
There you
coming up,
go.
right? Something different.
Yeah.
All right, we've got one more region to check out for some trout and more for the weekend. So we're headed into the Casa Vieja Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas. Stay with us.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. 30 years of fishing for adventure. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. Real Legends. Available at bellsflorida.com. And Taco Marine. Master the catch.
Today's Power Pull tip: did you know you could run your Power Pull shallow water anchors or change all of your charging priority right from a Garmin fish finder? If you're running a Garmin GPS map or Eco Map, you have that ability. But what I like to see is my charge data right on the screen. I have the ability to see my voltages throughout the day, and I could change my priority button by simply pressing my fish finder. Another thing I like is I can initiate an emergency start if my big outboard won't start, and I will get that engine started and get back to the dock. I can also run my Power Pull anchors. If you have duals, you can run them both at the same time, or you can lift them independently. To learn more about the Power Pull charge and Garmin integration, go to powerpull.com or the Garmin website. And that's your Power Pull tip of the week.
You know all about that Power Pull tip.
Man,
You
Power
love
Pull
it.
just makes it easy. They just
know,
make
they
everything
do.
so easy. It's fantastic.
Got to get one. All right, trout can be caught in the Casa Vieja Lodge Southeast region, but so can permit, blackfins, and kingfish this weekend. So, Jimbo, tell us how the Thomas Flyer boys do it. Go for it.
You got it. Well, first off, sea trout fishing in the Southeast region is decent at the south and the north end. And traditionally, the best trout fishing in the region can be found on the grass flats on the west side of South Biscayne Bay in the Gables by the Sea area. But a lot of those grass beds are dying off, so it's not as hot as it used to be. And then on both the east and the west sides of North Biscayne Bay, from Venetian Causeway north to Oliver Inlet, and that has been those hot spots lately. And then if you're fishing the north end of the region, look for trout on the east side of Lake Worth Lagoon and the ICW from Southern Boulevard Bridge south to Hypoluxo Island. You want to fish in areas with good moving water with heavy grass and potholes in the 3 to 8 foot range. And also look for any signs of bait fish activity, because those trout will be following the bait. And also they'll follow big schools of mullet, if you see mullet in the area. And both live and artificial baits work well on sea trout. Small light pilchards, herrings, or pinfish fish under a popping cork work good. Or artificials such as a quarter-ounce bass assassin jig head with a 4-inch gulp plastic tail, and also surface and shallow running twitch baits. Those are all trout killers. And lately, the trout fish has been pretty good up in North Biscayne Bay on the small live baits, so and artificials. So it's been good. The average size fish are in the 15 to 18-inch range, but fish up to 25 inches, which is roughly 4 to 5 pounds, are not uncommon. And then the flats on the south end of the region have been seeing some really good permit fishing. And with the full moon last week, there's been some fairly decent high and low tides, and the fish have been favoring the outgoing tide. Look for hard bottom flats with lots of moving water between Caesars and Broad Creeks. And most of the fish, they've been swimming or cruising versus tailing, and a live crab placed in their path that'll usually get you a bite. And since this is mostly sight fishing, you want to wait for the sun to come up and to get some prime visibility, say between 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And if there's overcast conditions, try working over the light-colored bottom and most of these permit have been in the 12 to 25 pound class. Now moving offshore, best fishing has been along the edge of the Gulf Stream, where we've been catching blackfin tunas, and they've been biting in depth from anywhere from 120 to 250 feet of water. Best baits have been pilchards, herrings, or goggle-eyed sardines, whatever you got. You want to fish them under the kite or flatline them. Use some light fluoro leader, 30, 40-pound test, and small circle hooks, 4.0 to 6.0 circle hooks. Most of these tunas have been in the 20 to 30-pound range, so they've been good-sized ones. But the sharks have been bad, eating a lot of them as well. Doesn't matter where you're fishing from, there's sharks eating them. But they've also been biting throughout the day, but first thing in the morning, then late in the afternoon, from around 3 o'clock in the afternoon till sunset, that's when you get them the best. If you can find some pilchards to chum with, that'll help get them up on the top. And then in the same basic areas as those tunas, but maybe a little shallower, 90 to 150 foot range, there's been a pretty decent kingfish action. We've been using the same rig as for the tunas, but we've been adding a 12 to 18 inch piece of number 3 to 5 wire leader to prevent any cutoffs. Same baits like pilchards, herrings, sardines, fish them under the kite or on the drift. That'll get you your bites. And also, it's a good idea to put a bait down a little deep, maybe a mid-depth bait. That's been getting some bites as well. And also trolling 3.5 to 3.5 drone spoons or pink sea witch with the bonita strip behind a number 2 to 4 planer or a wireline outfit to get the bait down. That's been producing as well. Most of these kings have been in the 8 to 20 pound range. And I got a photo here, and I think I forgot my other photo of my tuna, but we're going to have a kingfish photo. And this was caught aboard the billing office this night's king with Captain Nelson Delatorre.
All right, Jim. But hey, I got a quick question, kingfish question. I'm asking everybody kingfish questions.
That's fine.
But hey,
Ask
do you
away.
ever get anybody that wants to catch one of those things on the fly? I know guys that will hire, big boats and get out there, chum them up, and get them on the fly.
I've possibly had a few people ask about it, and I discouraged it. It's not really easy.
It's not
winging a fly rod aboard a big sport fish boat with outriggers and tuna tower and all that stuff. Plus, it's not often that we actually get them up busting that good behind the boat. So yes, it's a possibility, but at least from what I've seen, it's a lot more work than I think it's.
Now you're gonna get that phone call. So sorry about that, Jim.
I'm good to go. Let's give it a try. Red hot. Yeah, we catch them all the time on fly.
There you go. Here are the Black Oak LED hotspots for the Southeast region. Inshore, get on the flats early and cast live crabs or shrimps to tailing bonefish and permit. And then offshore, look for those blackfin tuna, sailfish, and kingfish. Fishing live baits along the edge of the Gulf Stream, not fly baits, live baits.
Live,
baits,
not fly. Yeah, all right, anglers, trout are out and about, so we want you to be out there with all of the trout ski things this weekend, catching them up, but stay hooked so we can let you know what's on the end of our line next week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Trout skis.
Trout. All right, next week we are surf fishing. What? Dave,
I'm all about that.
Something to say about surf fishing? You never have anything to say.
I'd love to do it.
You love to do it, and you're going to be the ultimate.
Hopefully, I'll win something in this next tournament. This
Hopefully, you will.
Fish Bite Shoreline Showdown.
You'll be the ultimate surf.
A lot of good prizes in 2 of them already.
Yes, exactly. Well, Tommy, thank you for being here,
Thanks
filling in for Rick.
Yeah.
You did a great job as always.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, thanks guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Rick will be back, and I hope you catch some trout.
See ya.
Bye.